Alright, so I'll probably make this post-game video a little brief, as there is obviously a lot going on around the league from a trade standpoint, with the deadline being tomorrow afternoon. I'm going to try and get a video out on the Jimmy Butler trade heading to Golden State, which I think is going to be a huge regret on the part of the Warriors, especially with that insane $121 million extension they gave him. But I won't talk about that here. You can check that out on my NBA channel, AM1 Hoops, whenever the video goes live. I'm also just kind of waiting to see if there are going to be any additional moves on the part of the Bulls before the deadline. We've already started seeing some trades trickle in, even into the night, which I hate to say it, but based on reports coming from the Bulls beat, it's very possible there may not be any additional moves coming down the pipe, especially after Jimmy got dealt to the Warriors, as it was believed Vooch was going to be the fallback plan had the Warriors not been able to acquire Jimmy Butler. But anyway, as for this game, look, what I'll say is this: I fully expected the Bulls to come into this one coming off a game last night, a traveling back-to-back, going up against a much better team in the Timberwolves. The Bulls still somewhat short-handed with a couple of their rotational players being out, so I fully expected the Bulls to get blown out big time in this game. Now, I know you look at the final score and you say, well, they did get blown out. They lost by 19 points. Yeah, that wasn't until the final quarter, where I'm sure the Bulls got a bit gassed, weren't able to hit shots, turning the ball over a little more frequently. The Bulls actually held their own in this game, and what was especially impressive to me is the Timberwolves came out and slapped them pretty hard. They were destroying the Bulls on the boards, getting so many second chance points. The Wolves opened up the game, I believe it was 27-6, and the Bulls quickly responded, even in that first quarter, bringing it back within range, and then even took the lead in the second quarter for a bit and actually maintained a lead in the third quarter as well. They kept pushing the Wolves, kept pushing the pace. They were scrappy on defense and fighting for loose balls. And so to me, what was more telling from watching this game, because look, we're not expecting this team to win many games for the rest of the season. Hell, we're probably not even wanting them to win that many games for the rest of the year. But what we're wanting to see, and what I'm watching out for, is how are these young guys responding and rising to the occasion? How are they making the most of this opportunity, and how are they growing as players and as a team collectively? And seeing the young guns, because let's be real, the entire lineup tonight was the young guys except for Vucevic, but the young guys, they didn't fold. They didn't crumble after getting hit hard early. Yeah, they made mistakes, but they kept fighting, they kept hustling, and actually made smart plays to get themselves back into the game. Buzelis, coming off that 10 for 10 game with no Lonzo Ball in the lineup on the back-to-back, he got his first NBA start. Didn't play as well as he did last night, but then how could you when you didn't miss a single shot the night before? But even though he wasn't as efficient on offense, was 4 for 10, 0 for 4 from 3, what I like seeing from Modest was his continued aggression in getting to the basket, using that quick first step, and using his athleticism to finish at the rim. You know, I tweeted this during the game, but with no more Zach LaVine, Modest has now become their most athletic player and their most athletic finisher at the basket. And what we hadn't seen as much before is he's getting the foul line, finishing through contact. And when you're already seeing this at his age, at age 20, look out, because he's going to be able to be a high-level scorer if he keeps this up. Tonight, 14 points, 5 rebounds, 3 blocks, and 2 steals in 29 minutes of play. Patrick Williams, not the best game, but what I did like seeing was him continuing to be aggressive, especially on the defensive end. Jalen Smith was solid in this game despite only playing 15 minutes. You know, I'd love to see him get more minutes as we wind down the year. I mean, if the Bulls do trade Vucevic, he's definitely going to get more minutes. There's no question there. But if Vuce remains on the team, I would like to see them give Smith more minutes to work on his game, work on his post-up skills. I mean, he only played 15 minutes and scored 14 points and had 5 rebounds. He's only 24. Give him some time and see if he can actually hone in on his game a bit more. A solid game from Josh Giddey, although he did have 4 turnovers. I would have liked to see Giddey attacking the glass more in a game where the Bulls got completely obliterated on the boards. 59 rebounds for the Wolves in total to the Bulls 34. The Wolves have 23 offensive rebounds. That is just unacceptable. I know they're a bigger team. They have one of the better offensive rebounders in the game, Rudy Gobert, but that can't happen. And it was honestly a big reason the Bulls got off to that horrible start, and how they finished off the game is they allowed way too many second chance opportunities to the Timberwolves. But anyway, Giddey overall has been shooting better. He's been finishing better with that floater. Tonight, 19 points, 7 for 14 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3. Kobe had a decent game. He started heating up a bit, which brought the Bulls back into this one. 20 points, 4 assists, 5 for 11, 4 for 6 from 3. And then Vucevic, I mean, you know, he's always struggled against Gobert, as he usually struggles against great rim protectors, but also was horrible in boxing out that allowed the Wolves to get so many offensive rebounds. But Vucevic's demeanor and his body language tonight, I mean, very similar to last night, just seems like he's a bit distracted With the trade deadline looming, I'm sure for Vucevic's part, he's hoping to get traded. He's towards the tail end of his career, he knows the Bulls are going down a path of rebuilding, and he's probably starting to get indications that he may remain with the team for the rest of the season. We'll see though, things can change pretty quickly in this league. Now, as I'm sure most of you saw by now, I did a quick reaction video during halftime of the game on it, but unexpectedly, the Bulls have agreed on a contract extension with Lonzo Ball to the tune of 2 years, $20 million. I spoke about it briefly, but I'm personally happy about this. I'm sure the Bulls would have wanted to trade him, and they maybe did have some offers, but they were offers that were likely in the range of taking on some long-term money for maybe a second-round pick, which isn't worth it when Lonzo Ball's deal is expiring. So instead, they re-signed him to a cheap deal where he's going to be making below the mid-level. It's a team option on the second year, so the Bulls can decline it if things don't go well in next season or there are more injuries that he sustains. And while the numbers, aren't going to pop out at you when it comes to Lonzo's production, and yes, you can say, well, he's clearly not the same player and he can't play, that often because he's on minutes restrictions, he doesn't play in a back-to-back. His impact on the court is undeniable, not only just from the eye test, but the advanced metrics when the Bulls are 10 points per 100 possessions better when Lonzo Ball is on the court. And as I said before, Lonzo is the one vet I would have been okay with the Bulls keeping around on a cheap deal because he can be a great mentor to the young guys. He can provide playmaking and defensive tenacity, high IQ player that the young, inexperienced Bulls are going to need going into this rebuild. And the other thing is, this is a very tradable contract going into next season. Like, the last thing the Bulls want to do with Lonzo Ball in his situation is not find a trade for him before the deadline and he ends up walking for nothing in free agency. A $10 million salary is much more palatable, much more tradable than $20 million. And if Lonzo can stay healthy, it's going to increase his overall trade value next season when teams see that he's had more sustained health over an extended period of time. And I'm sure there are still going to be concerns about his overall health, and that's probably why teams are wary of trading for him. But next season, if he can stay healthy, that's going to be a different story. So in short, I'm completely fine with this extension. I'm surprised because I thought there would be zero chance Lonzo would want to stay in Chicago and be a part of a rebuilding team. But honestly, he probably wouldn't have been able to get much more than that on the open market as a free agent this summer. He likely would have had to settle for the vet minimum given the current cap situation from most contending teams not being able to offer anything more than the vet min. So anyway, a good deal. I like it. I think it's going to give the Bulls more optionality next season when assessing the trade market for Lonzo Ball. But anyway, a few hours. Let's see if the Bulls do anything prior to the deadline. I'll obviously keep you guys informed should any trades go down. In the meantime, though, guys, let me know what you thought of the game in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.